So now that you know the forms, now we need to go into when do you use the imperfect and the preterite. Okay, there's a little more to understand with the imperfect, so it's like a trade-off. The forms are really easy, but then you need to really understand when to use them. Now it's important to understand that in order to know when to use the imperfect or the preterite, you really have to know your vocabulary, because that's going to dictate whether or not you're going to use the imperfect or the preterite. Also, it will dictate, you need to know what's the message you're going to convey. So typically, this is what happens for when to use the imperfect is when we're dealing with habitual actions. When in English we say used to, like I used to do something, I used to go down to the river every summer, then I'd use the imperfect tense, okay? It's the equivalent of was or were, okay? The verb plus ing. The big thing, I was walking down the street. It's painting a picture. And in fact, here we're dealing with it. That kind of leads into the third one, reliving the moment or setting the stage, okay? It's the background. It's what's in the back. And you're trying to bring what's in the, really make a point, that people can really imagine, like they're actually there, okay? When you're dealing with time, date, stating one's age, you're always going to use the imperfect. When you're dealing with past actions, not viewed as completed. That pretty much sums up the entire imperfect. Because when we talk about habitual actions, we say we used to do them all the time, but they're not viewed as completed because they're not done, because you do them all the time, all right? For example, if I said I was walking down the street, that's not viewed as a completed action because it almost leads you to believe that something else happened that interrupted what I was doing. Now, there's two more. When we're dealing with physical, like for physical sensations, usually we're going to use the preterite or the imperfect tense. For example, if I said, oh, I am hungry, then we'd use the verb tenere, but we'd use the imperfect tense because you're talking about your physical sensation and physical emotions. So typically when you deal with emotions, you're going to use the imperfect tense. I was sad. It's background information. Okay, it's not necessarily if you said I cried, then that's a preterite because it's a completed event. Okay, to describe the characteristics of people, things, or conditions. He was a tall man. Then in that case, it's background information. So that's one thing to put in here specifically that'll help out some. So anytime you're dealing with background information, I think we said that setting the stage, any background information is going to be given is going to use the imperfect tense. All right? As you can see, that's really written well. Ha! Ha ha! So here's a list. You might want to pause it to write these down. These are some typical words that will signal the use of the imperfect. Okay? So write these down. It's recommended that you memorize them because they'll be very useful and helpful in helping you identify when you're going to use the imperfect or the preterite. Okay? Let's go write them down now. So let's take a look at when do we use the preterite tense, all right? So we use the preterite tense when we're dealing with completed events. We view the event that happened as completed, kind of like this runner right here. Here he is running, that would be imperfect. Once he crosses the line, he's finished the race. So therefore we use the preterite tense because it's viewed as completed. The beginning of an event or the end of an event, right? Okay, he finished the race. They started to run. Okay, in those cases, we'd use the preterite tense. Now, what usually happens is the preterite interrupts what was going on. Okay, for example, he was running, this man was running, and he was running really, really fast when this camera jumped out and tripped him. Okay, when he was running, that's imperfect tense, because it tells you what was going on. It's setting the stage. It lets you know what he was doing beforehand, before this camera jumped out. I think that's a camera. Jumped out and tripped him. Okay. There are some words that change meaning in the preterite form. All right. When you use the preterite tense, certain words or vocabulary words or verbs will change their meaning when they're in the preterite tense as opposed to the imperfect. Okay, for example, querer is a good one. It ends up meaning when you use it in a sentence in the preterite tense, it means like I tried and you ended up failing. For example, if I said, well, I wanted to go to the store, and I tried, but for some reason I didn't go. Okay, I got hit by a car or ran over my dog and it was all sad and I had to console my family. All right, so I tried to go to the store, but I was impeded from going. Okay, no querer, like for example, if I said I don't want to go to the store. Okay, no quise ir a la tienda. In this case, I'm refusing to go. It's very strong. Not only do I don't want to go, but I refused to go. Conocer means to meet for the first time. Okay, it's not much different from what it's been used in the past, but typically meaning it means conocí a mi hermana. I met my sister for the first time. Saber, when we use it in the past tense, it's a stem changer, or not stem changer, but an irregular stem verb, irregular, and it changes to soup. And so it changes to found out when we use the preterite form. Poder means to manage or to succeed. Like, for example, pude ir a la tienda. Okay, I could go to the store, meaning I succeeded in going to the store. No poder, no pude ir. I couldn't. I failed to make it. I didn't manage it. All right. Tener typically means to receive. Okay. Yo tuve. How would you say that? Yo tuve el correo. Okay. I received the. Or you could use recibir también. Okay. Okay, there's tener, which could mean to receive. A good example is like this. Would you use tenía un bebé o tuvo un bebé? So if you say tuvo un bebé, it means she gave birth to the baby. She had a baby, all right? Whereas if you say tenía, it's background. Like she had a baby, but she doesn't anymore, okay? It's very much background information. So let's look at this. Here's a few examples. Él quiso venir a la fiesta. Okay, he wanted to come to the party, but he failed to. He tried to come to the party. So maybe he tried to come but wasn't able to. No quiso venir a la fiesta. We invited him, but he refused to come. Conocí a Marta en la fiesta. I met Marta at the party, okay, for the first time. No supe que Marta era su novia hasta la fiesta. Okay, I didn't know, or I didn't find out that Martha was his girlfriend until the party. Okay, Marcos pudo llegar temprano a la fiesta. He succeeded in arriving early to the party, right? Anita no pudo llegar temprano a la fiesta. She could not arrive early to the party. Okay, just couldn't happen. She tried, and she just couldn't make it. Okay. Now, here are some words and phrases that indicate specific time frames and therefore signal the use of preterite. Now, this isn't 100%, but for the majority of the time, you can use these to indicate the preterite tense. Typically, that's what happens. We'll talk about in class. It depends on the message that you're trying to give to the person, whether or not you can use preterite imperfect with these particular verbs, or not verbs, but vocabulary words. So write them down and memorize them, because you'll need them for future reference. Okay? Now, I did speak to you about querer, conocer, saber, poder, and tener earlier in the preterite tense, and I should scratch that out. Imperfect. Now, the great thing about the imperfect tense is that when we're using these verbs in the imperfect, they actually stay the same. There's no change in their meaning. It actually means what they mean: to want, to know, or to meet. Saber is to know, okay, know information. Yo sabía que era muy difícil. I knew it was very difficult, okay. Poder, to be able to. Yo no podía venir a la fiesta. I could not make it to the party, okay. Tener. Yo tenía tres hermanos. I had 3 brothers, okay, in the past. All right, so they actually don't change meaning. So there you go. It's all done. Have a great life.